Welcome back to another episode of Film Buff Bros. And in this episode, we're going to be discussing remakes again, specifically Cape Fear. Ooh. All right. So you have some notes. Why don't you get it started and then I'll just improvise.
Sure. So first one was 2 years after Psycho, 1962. Robert Mitchum. It was done in a style that was trying to emulate Hitchcock. That's why they had Bernard Herrmann on the score. And so let's start with the first of all the acting, because I really feel the Max Cady character carries the film. It's kind of what, for me, is the most interesting thing that keeps the plot going. Is what threat is he going to give to the Gregory Peck or Nick Nolte character. And I don't know about you, but I felt that the Mitchum character, he looked more normal. He didn't have the crazy tattoos and the long hair. Like De Niro's got a scary, just looking character. Whereas Mitchum looks like a dude you'd walk past the street and not give a second eye. So to me, I preferred Mitchum's Cady.
You preferred Mitchum's Cady?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, you
interesting.
don't agree?
Well, again, because of the like flamboyant, like boisterous way of the 90s. It's 90s, right? Not 80s?
91 or 91.
Okay.
91.
Yeah, so I liked it better. I like the character better because it's, I don't know, well, it's De Niro, and he's more comedic. I think in both, Cady is a little like comedic and like cheeky.
Yeah.
And sassy. He's like picking on the Gregory Peck character, Sam, whatever is the lawyer character. It's kind of like he's teasing him and taunting him, and it's building up and to him getting his full revenge on him. And I don't know, like the De Niro played it in such a, not spoof, but just so over the top, and like you can see this guy's got some of his wires crossed. Whereas Mitchum kind of remind me of his role in
Night of the Hunter.
Night of the Hunter, exactly right. He's kind of stoic and just focused on this one sinister goal.
Right. What do you think about the religious aspect that De Niro's Cady took on?
I liked it. Yeah. I definitely liked it, and he just added so many more layers to the character. Like I enjoyed the first one for sure, but I definitely preferred the second one. I thought that it's more, there's like this romantic aspect to it, and films advanced in general. There's waves, ebbs and flows of films where now it's kind of on a downturn, even though there is good films that still come out now. I thought film in general really hit his stride in those three decades, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Some in the early 2000s, but anyway, point being, to answer your question, the religious aspect, I did like it. I thought it was appropriate because the Nick Nolte's character has committed a sin, so to speak, and I like that whole litigious court thing. And then at the end when they're on the boat, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about details of the movies. He's looking back at the camera, speaking to the camera, like the camera is like the judge or the jury, and he's putting him on this trial, this like mock trial. And I thought the incorporating the religious aspect into that really worked.
Yeah, there's definitely things I liked more about the remake. One of them was, again, to acting, is the daughter was more sort of so very innocent, typical like way they would show a 15-year-old in the 60s. But Juliette Lewis she's a little more of a rebel. She's a little more promiscuous, leaning towards promiscuity. So I felt that her daughter character was way more interesting than the one in the original. And honestly, I thought the acting of her was the worst acting in the original, the daughter. But again, she's young. The rape aspect is different too. Did you? Because there's the rape that happens, or it's alluded to in the original. But the times and everything. The second one, like they show it like full on, like just close-ups of him doing the rape. So Yeah,
Well,
that's
which rape are you talking about? Because he was convicted of rape. Are you talking about when he bites the chunk out of the lady's face? Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Because
just
that's not even in the second one, right? Or it? No, you're right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to call or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't want to call the police, and they're like interviewing her afterwards. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm starting to remember that.
Well, it just seems like the whole film was like, if the first one was whatever, I can't remember the director's name, trying to emulate Hitchcock, I feel like I think that the second one was more Scorsese's trying to emulate almost De Palma. It's like the camera's way more, everything, like you said, the Katie characters, everything is exaggerated and almost operatic to that De Palma level. So I just felt like, yeah, again, the second one was just almost, I just kind of seen it before. It's a solid thriller, but
also De Palma was trying to do Hitchcock, right?
yes, he was. Yeah,
Right, and
yeah.
and you have like these transitions between scenes where it's like a long fade,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and like the water is like a theme throughout that,
True.
right? Like the beginning, the opening sequence. Like I thought it was a really cool sequence, I guess. Just like the different color of like the ripples and water at the beginning, and then they also like added to the guy who did the score for the second one. Used the original one, but he added a little more to it. I thought like visually it's stunning. Like when Katie is sitting on the fence and the fireworks are going off behind him and she looks out the window, like that was just crazy. Like, yeah, just so many moments where it's just Scorsese, man, it's like stunning. Like even when De Niro's in the theater smoking the cigar, laughing, and they're watching Problem Child, just like so many cool little things that they do with the visuals in it.
It's crazy how much hate the remake gets.
Does it?
In this world, if you look online, it's crazy. Everyone, well, they say the first one's far superior, and it's like, and these are De Niro, like these are Scorsese's fans who I think that the year before he did Goodfellas, and so they go, oh, Goodfellas is a masterpiece, and then they look at the Cape Fear remake like it's a piece of garbage. It's like, okay, it's not Scorsese's best work, but I think it is, as far as remakes go, it might even be like in the top 3 remakes of all time.
Oh, I agree. Like for me, that's one of my favorite Scorsese films. Like I have a USB drive, a big USB drive with like most of my favorite movies on it that I put on the TV for me to fall asleep to, and that is on it. That and Goodfellas is on it. I don't know. It's just like yeah, I find the rewatchability is huge, and that's one of the movies I have a hard time putting on when I go to sleep because I'm so captivated by it. It's so visually compelling, and the story is visually compelling, and I find it hard to fall asleep to Hitchcock movies, even though I know how it's going to end. It's just like the suspense, just like is magnetic.
True. What did you think about the ending of the film? And the difference between the two?
Yeah, I thought better in the second one. It was more final, when he's sinking into the water. I thought that was a really good like ending. And then again, that him linking up with his wife and kid on the shore is a little like unnecessary. But I guess they need to show that they didn't drown. But I thought that was way more quicker than like what didn't like Katie like turn himself in at the end, like kind of he's like he made a decision like.
Yeah, I think basically he gets turned in by Peck's character, and he decides like to not kill him, and he's just going to stay with his moral compass. Whereas, again, I loved the second one because it's such a great ending there, where he's got
the rock,
and then he gets swept away from the wave. So it's like Mother Nature intervenes. Like he was gonna hit him with that. He was gonna break his moral compass. And just as he does, Mother Nature intervenes. So I thought it was a beautiful ending. Instead of him just hitting him with the rock and killing him or letting him go like he did in the first one, just very not operatic, but underwhelming sort of ending. But the remake I felt was like, wow, to have him like swept away, and then he just watches him die. Sort of like Batman and the Joker in the first one, where he just Batman doesn't kill anybody, but he'll watch them die.
What did you think about compare Gregory Peck to Nicolas Cage, like their performance?
Or Nolte?
What did I say? Cage? Yeah, Nolte.
Yeah. He's always interesting to imagine if other actors did it, but
deep fake.
yeah, totally. One day for sure, or it's probably already happening. Yeah, I would say I love Nolte, and I think he's always like believable and interesting character to watch, and he's more aggressive than Peck's depiction of the character. But I love Gregory Peck too, and I just think he's top 3 or 4 actors of that time. So I don't know. That's a hard one to pick. I would probably go with Nolte just because I like him. I like how his character's a little more aggressive, and he gets the goons to beat him up and watches them get beat up, and he's just got a little more oomph and a little more guts
Yeah.
in the remake.
More a dynamic character. There's more going on with the relationship with the husband and wife. Because the girl that gets raped and beaten up by Katie in the remake is having an affair with him, whereas there's no relation between them in the original movie. And Gregory Peck is just like straight lace, very, I guess, yeah, kind of a flat character. There's an arc to him, but I'm just saying there's not a lot going on with that character. Whereas Nicolas Cage, Nick Nolte, he's kind of like jittery. He's just like, oh, I told you not to let the dog out. He's like, I didn't let him out. Like Jessica Lange, phenomenal, like almost steals the show. Like she almost becomes like the main character. She brings so much to that role. And Scorsese, just showing her face, she's like wiping the lipstick off of her mouth when she thinks like Katie's watching her put the lipstick on, I think it was, right? Like there's so much going on with like all those characters, like the daughter calling her friend like, oh, my parents are fighting, and like, oh, I got to go to summer school for smoking weed. Just there's so much going on, and Scorsese just gives the perfect amount of time to develop all the characters. Like I didn't feel that they were giving any one of the characters too much screen time. Like I can't remember the name of the girl who was dating Scorsese and was also in Alive. She refused to eat people at first. The girl that gets raped in the second one. Like they just give her like the perfect amount of time, them playing squash, and then her at the bar with Katie, just everything. Schumacher, right? Thelma Schumacher is the one that does
Yes.
the editing.
Yes.
I would love to see what they cut from that film, because it just seems like just perfectly timed, like well-paced movie. And then I just wanted to, before we wrap up, I wanted to briefly mention like the other, not cameos. Well, I guess there's two cameos in it, right? But the guy that plays the private eye, that guy, he's a character actor. He's drinking Jim Beam and Pepto-Bismol, and just like, oh man, great performance by him. They gave him the perfect amount of screen time. And then is there anything you want to say about the two obvious cameos?
Yeah,
Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum.
Neither one of them really stood out for me. I think Mitchum maybe stood out a bit more, but yeah, I think the Peck scene was just a quick scene of him in a courtroom or something like that.
Right.
So
first
yeah.
is the phone call when Nick Nolte's asking him to be his attorney. Mm-hmm. And then, in the court scene, I liked how he had this, Southern Colonel Sanders kind of thing about him, right? I liked his performance, and then I liked Mitchum as well, suggesting that he have Katie killed. He's like, oh, pardon me, all over the place. Like,
yeah.
I thought, that I'm really glad they had them have those little cameo roles, and they're top-notch acting for sure.
Yeah, it's nice to have a movie where you have good primary actors, main actors, and they're just supported by these fantastic character actors. And yeah, I think both films, editing, like you said, tight, super tight, just like Goodfellas, just not an ounce of extra fat on it. And all the acting pretty much good in both movies. If I had to be forced to pick which one I liked better, I guess I would probably pick the remake, just because it did remake the film, staying true to the original as far as the story and everything goes, and built on the areas that would improve the tension and all that stuff. So
Totally, yeah. I prefer the new one, and that may be just due to my modern taste, but I agree with you. They just kind of enhanced all of the things that were in the first one. It did stay true to it, probably more so than most other remakes, but it just added a little more depth to the characters and enhanced the suspense. I do like the first one. I think maybe just the pacing in the very last scene, not the very last scene, the very last act was a little slower than the remake. But other than that, yeah, both great films, and I prefer the remake.
Yeah, recommend them both for sure.
Yeah, recommend them both, absolutely.
Yeah, in the world of remakes, definitely one of the better ones, absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so that's it for this episode. So tune in next week for another new episode, and make sure you smash that subscribe button and give us a like.
Links in the description. Thanks, guys.